Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, the Mike Francesa channel on the network, on YouTube, on this Sunday morning now, after what was as good a two games as I can ever remember on Saturday on Final Four. I was lucky enough to do the Final Four for many years. I did it for 17 years. I've been to about 20-something Final Fours. I can't remember two Saturday games being this good. We knew we had four very, very talented teams. A lot of people felt the most talented teams of all time. We knew that all four of these teams could win the championship. We said that going in. Duke deserved to be favored, but they were not unbeatable. I thought Florida would win because I thought Clayton would be the difference in the game, and he was. But also, what was the difference in the game is they wore Auburn down. I thought that I picked Houston to win the tournament before it started. I thought they had a very good chance to beat Duke if they could get them in this type of game. I have to tell you, to be fair, I did think there were a couple of moments in the game where Houston was beaten. I thought that right before the technical foul by Gillis, which turned into a 6-point play because Cryer hit the three. They were down 14. He hit the three. He made one or two free throws, and then he made a basket. So they got 6. They could have gotten 8. They got 6. It got them back in the game. They were down 8. Next thing you know, they hit a basket. They're down 59-53. They are right back in the game. I was taken aback when the Cooper flag hit the three that put them up 64-55 with 3 minutes left. I said, probably not going to happen. But I have to tell you, at that point, right after that, when they hit a basket, I noticed right around 2:40, 2:30, I was talking to Jack on the phone, my son, and I said, Jack, Duke might hold on here, but they're out of gas. They are out of gas. Houston has just worn them down. I don't know if Houston can make enough plays here. They probably can't. Duke's going to have to make some free throws. They'll probably make them. But Duke is out of gas. I knew in the final minutes that Auburn was out of gas. Still, Clayton was the difference in that game. He had a 34-point game. He had a 20-point second half. He makes big shot after big shot after big shot. Florida turned that game around in the last 30 seconds of the first half after Auburn played great in the first half. They got good defensive play from their bigs in the second half. They came after them with aggressiveness in the second half. They got Clayton to make big shots in the second half, and they wore Auburn down. Duke scored 1 basket in the last 10 and a half minutes. It was that 3 by Cooper flag with 3 minutes left that put them back up 9, 64-55. That's the only basket they made in the last 10 and a half minutes of the game. Think about that. They were dominating the game. Houston didn't know how to score against them early because they couldn't handle their size. Their size is a huge factor. Plus, Duke was playing, while Duke was having trouble with some of Houston's defensive prowess, they were getting enough baskets, especially from Kneppel in the first half. He did not have a big second half. He had a big first half. He made 1 basket in the second half. Flagg carried them in the second half. He's a great player. He's going to be a great pro. There's no question about that. This isn't on Flagg. This isn't on Flagg what happened at the end of the game, whether you're talking about the foul or the basket. He was playing against men, and he showed up really well. He had a terrific game. They got just enough scoring out of Cryer, but while Cryer did score, the two things that were the heroes for Houston was their relentlessness, their will, and Sharp making big plays, big baskets. Here's where this thing really changes. Right when Tugler gets called for the technical, when he goes across the end line and slaps the ball. So now it's 67-61. But Tugler blocks a shot. Sharp gets it, comes down the floor, and nails a bomb of a three. That makes it 67-64. There's still 34 seconds left. Yes, it's not going to be easy, but Duke is exhausted. And they got to deal with these guys in the last 30 seconds. And these guys, they're not quitting. They're men. And they're tough. And they're physically tough. And they expended every bit of energy they had. And right there, they can't get the ball in. They almost get a 5 count. They use their last timeout, right? They can't move. They throw it. It gets intercepted by Malik Wilson. He dribbles out for the 3, gets a good look, misses it, but Tugler goes up and tip dunks the missed shot. Now it's a 1-point game. So who do you foul? They pass up fouling. They pass up fouling Kneppel, which is smart. He's a 90% foul shooter. They get the ball, get to Proctor. Proctor's a 60% foul shooter. Proctor goes to the line. 20 seconds left. Misses the 1-and-1. What happens? Roberts gets the rebound. He gets fouled by flag. Now, Roberts is coming to the foul line. Proctor just missed a 1-and-1. Duke doesn't miss big free throws. They missed the 1-and-1. Roberts goes to the line. He's a 60% foul shooter. You're figuring, hey, it'll be a miracle if he gets the first one. He gets the first, he gets the second. Now Houston's got the lead. Now, and Duke did have one timeout left. That's right, because they came up and they called the timeout. Now, the ball's going to Cooper Flag. Everybody in the building knows the ball's going to Cooper Flag. He wants Roberts on Cooper Flag. Roberts plays Cooper Flag really well. Cooper Flag tries to hook him, pro move. Okay, no, they're going to call it. He goes up, gets a good look. Roberts plays really good defense, stays in his face, extends. Ball goes off the rim, and Houston, of course, gets the rebound. They flipped the ball out, and there the execution by Duke was not great. Okay, it took them a while to get foul. And who do they foul? Cryer. They get the ball to Cryer. They didn't get the ball. Wilson flipped the ball to Cryer. Cryer gets the ball. Cryer's going to make his free throws. I know he was 2 of 4. Guy's a 91% foul shooter. He's not going to miss those big free throws. Hits the 2 free throws. Duke doesn't have a timeout. Houston wisely doesn't call timeout. I don't like calling timeout there. I don't want to give the offense a chance to set up a play. Plus, I don't want to fool around with a foul there. I know people like the foul there, but here's the thing. If I get a foul there and I go foul someone like Cooper Flag and he lunges and throws it up at the last minute, man, he gets free 3 throws or something, or the ball ever goes in. I don't want to deal with that, okay? I'd rather they try and hoist the ball up against my defense, all right? They didn't even get a real good look, and Houston holds on and pulls off one of the really amazing comeback wins in the history of college basketball. This game will reverberate forever. People had already penciled Duke into the chain. I mean, I saw people putting graphics up already about Duke playing on Monday night. I mean, Duke was already, as far as they were concerned, in the game. Instead, Houston just never quit. They never quit. They weren't pretty. They had trouble scoring against Duke's defense. They had trouble scoring against Duke's size. Their numbers weren't pretty, but they hit some threes. You know that they hit some threes, and that was a big deal that they hit some threes. They really did, because Cryer made 6 of 9 threes. That was enormous. He shot 50% from the floor against Duke. He scored 26 points. I was talking to Nance, who's a big Houston guy, and he's been a big Houston guy his whole life. It's not like he's a fair weather fan. He's been a Houston guy his whole life. That's his school. And he was there. They were his son. And I said, I think Houston's going to win. And I said, but here's the thing. I said, Cryer's got to have a big game. He said Cryer had the flu last week. He'll be okay. I didn't know that. Never heard it anywhere. He knows he's close to the team. All right. But Sharp down the stretch made so many big plays, hit a couple of huge threes, hit his foul shots, got to the basket, did some amazing things. Roberts, 12 rebounds. They pounded the rebounds. They started wearing Duke down. They started turning Duke over. They kept Duke, which is a tremendously talented team, from scoring. They got one basket in the last 10 minutes. They outscored them 21-8 down the stretch. That's amazing. It really is. It's remarkable. It really is. And, it's a game where one team just kept trying to scrap and just scrap their way into a lead. I mean, they didn't hit a big basket to take the lead. They got fouled. They secured a rebound. They got a team to miss a one-on-one. And as I have said to you a million times, so many times these games come down to the one-on-one that gets missed. There was Proctor. Misses the one-on-one. Houston's down one. Now flag fouls. It wasn't a big-time foul. I know Duke's upset, but hey, I never want to see Duke get upset about fouls, okay? They never, ever, ever get a bad whistle. So I don't want to ever hear from them about fouls, ever, okay? And that goes back to the days of Mike, who I love. They never get a bad whistle. They shot 23 free throws tonight. Houston shot 18. Thing Houston did tonight was they made 10 out of 22 from 3. That was the difference with this team and the other Houston's teams. This team could hit 3-pointers. And those 3-pointers, especially Cryer and Sharp, those 3-pointers and their ability to rebound and be tough. Tugler's played on a bad ankle tonight, and it limited him. He's a great defensive player. Roberts is a man. They made play after play after play. And now they'll get to play for a national championship. Now, I'll get to that in a minute. There's a couple of big factors about that, but I'll get to that. The first game, Auburn played a great first half. Florida Bigs did a bad job against Broome in the first half. I thought Auburn played really well in the first half. I thought Florida was not aggressive enough and didn't push the ball and utilize their speed in the first half. And Clayton, of course, carried his team, as he's a great. He reminds me of Curry when he was in college. He really does. He really does. He's an incredible scorer. And they just wore Auburn down. Auburn got visibly tired. And I think Duke got tired. I don't think Flagg got tired. I think Flagg's ready to handle that kind of stuff, and he's ready to handle the NBA now. And Flagg had a good game. He did. All right, he missed. He had the foul, and then he missed the last shot. But hey, he had 27 points, 7 rebounds and 4 assists, 1 turnover, 3 blocks, 2 steals. The guy fills up the scorecard, and he had 27 points. I mean, he had a wonderful game. And he was playing against a great defense, and he was playing against men. And he showed you he can guard guards, he can guard forwards, he can play inside, he can play outside, he can make threes, he can drive to the basket, he can dunk. There's nothing he can't do. He's going to be a great pro. And he took it on his shoulders to make the plays tonight. And you know what? He didn't make 2 plays. He didn't hit the last shot. He fouled when he needed to stay away from that rebound. It wasn't a bad foul, but hey, he reached. He missed the shot to win the game. Hey, he kept them in the game. The bottom line is their guys got worn down. And Houston, they never solved Duke's defense. They never solved Duke's size, but they figured out enough to get enough scoring to basically become a threat and then find a way. I give the Duke bench credit. He went deep on the bench tonight. He played 10 guys, which is deep in this kind of game. It's deep. He gave Brown and Gillis and Foster minutes. Why? Because he knew that team was going to wear his team down. That was the one thing he knew was going to happen, because they're men. They're older. They've been around. They're relentless. He knew they would wear them down. And he didn't give Flagg and a lot of minutes off. One played 38, one played 36. Proctor played 38. He rotated the other guys, but he did give guys enough of a blow to at least get some rest in there. But Cryer had enough of a game to give them a baseline, and then they got enough in other places, especially Sharp, to get over the top. What a remarkable comeback. It really was. And it sets up a great final. Now, Florida has been installed. This is the Bet Revers line. Florida is 1.5. They had a 1.5 point favorite. The over-under is 141.5 if you're interested. Florida, Houston. Now, you might think this is not a big factor. It is a factor. And any coach who's been there will tell you this. When you play the second game, and if you wind up winning and playing in an incredibly physical, emotional game, even if you have a team that is the kind of physical specimens that Houston is, and they are probably in as good a condition as any basketball team can be in, because he works them that hard. But one of the critical things, and I've learned this because I've talked to these guys in these spots forever, and this always came up. Getting your guys back, getting them down from this game, especially a game like this, where everybody wants to celebrate tonight. Now they're not going to celebrate. They're going right back to their hotel. They're going to do their NCAA stuff that they have to do, whether it's media, drug testing, whatever it may be that they have to get done tonight. They get done with that. They get done with all their responsibilities. They get back to the hotel. He gets them fed and he gets them off their feet. And rest, yes, preparation is going to be big in the short time you have. But rest is enormously important. And having those guys, especially Tugler, off their feet and having them get back to where they need to get as far as getting them rested, getting them, oxidized and getting them completely hydrated and everything that they do now. And they're so much better at it than they used to be. But I can tell you, guys have told me, hey, I've won a huge game in the second game on Saturday night, and my team had nothing on Monday night. I've heard that before. I do not think it's as big a problem with Houston because they're older and he works them very hard, but it's still an issue. And I guarantee you, it is something that's going to be on Sampson's mind. And I guarantee you, if you watch the Jay Wright now or anybody who's won championships or been to Final Fours, he would talk to you right now about how important it is to get your team off their feet and rested and getting them away from everybody and getting them just where they can just chill. Because there's not a lot of hours and the clock's ticking until Monday night at 9:00. Florida gained a bunch of hours. And that's an advantage. And that's something Houston has to close down. And it's something that you learn. And I'm telling you, Krzyzewski's told me that. Bob Knight told me that. Wright told me that. I can go on and on. It's a big factor. Now, I picked Houston to win the championship before the tournament started. I can't back off now. I picked Florida today because of Clayton. I know how good Clayton is. And Clayton going against that defense is going to be fascinating to watch. This is a terrific matchup. There's no reason this shouldn't be a close game. Florida does not pose. They are not as good defensively as Duke is. They are not as big as Duke is. Their star is 6'3". They have quickness, so does Houston. They have bigs, so does Houston. They match up very well. As a matter of fact, Houston matches up better with Florida than they do with Duke because Duke's size was a bigger issue than I thought it would be. Duke played over the top of them for a while tonight. Got worn down. I think Duke's inability to play in close games this year, not inability, just that they were so dominant in their league, they didn't play close games. I think that hurt them. I think it hurt their poise. I think it hurt them getting the ball in bounds. I think it's stuff that when Houston's been through it. Hey, Houston won a game this year against Kansas where Kansas, and Cryer even mentioned it when the game was over. I can tell you that game. I bet Kansas that night. I lost that game. Kansas had a 6-point lead with 9 seconds to play, and they lost in overtime. Houston. Kansas was going to the line up 6 with 9 seconds left, and the game went to overtime. They got a 5 count and a steal and hit 2 threes. And the game went to overtime and Houston won. And I remember the game. The reason I remember it is because I bet Kansas in the game. I believe it was on a Monday night, if I remember right. I'm pretty sure it was. And it was in Kansas. He mentioned that game. Houston played a million of those games. When you win games like that, when you played overtime game after overtime game and close game after close game, time after time after time, you get used to playing in those games. And you understand that you never give up. And you know how to play situational basketball. They come down 6, hit a 3. They almost got a 5 count. You saw it. It was 4.59 when the ball came in. Then he can't move, and they get the steal. He got a wide open 3. He missed it. Got a decent look. Threw up a decent shot. And then Tugler tip dunks it for the 2 points. Now they're down 1. They foul the right guy. They didn't run right to the first guy and foul a 90% shooter. They waited, backed off that, and in the middle of the floor got Proctor, who's a 60% shooter. Or at least has been in the tournament. I don't know if he was a 60% shooter during the season or not, but I know he hadn't shot the ball well in the tournament. I'd have to look him up to see if he was. Let me see what he was for the season. For the season, he was a 72% foul shooter, but he was shooting 60 in the tournament. And he missed the one-on-one. But remember, the other guy was 92. Didn't foul him. Right move, right move. They secured the rebound off the miss one-on-one. They secure the rebound off the Cooper flag miss. Those are enormous plays. In the Florida game, Florida got the offensive rebound off 2 missed free throws and flipped it out to you-know-who, and he made 2 free throws. That's the difference between winning and losing. The steal, the ball you can't get in bounds, the 1-and-1 you miss, fouling the right guy, all that stuff. Duke didn't play close games all year. And they got a little worn down, and they got fatigued in a big setting against a really tough mental team, a team that had a lot of mental toughness. And they lost. They had a great year. And this is a heartbreaking loss for them, I'm sure. Hey, when they had a 14-point lead. They had a 9-point lead with 3 minutes left. That's a tough loss in the Final Four. That's a brutal loss. They'll stick with them for a long time. They'll stick with Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag will be talking about that 5 years from now. I can't believe I missed that shot. He'll be talking about that shot for years to come. We'll make him come back. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft. He's not coming back. But he would have liked to leave with a championship. It sure looked like he was going to get a chance for a long time. So rest is critical here. Now, Florida, I have no problem with them being favored. I don't think Florida is as consistent as Houston is in terms of effort. I think Florida has more skill. I think Florida has plenty of size. They have 3 good guards, and they have in Clayton, they have a prolific player that Houston's going to have to deal with. This is going to be a rugged game on the boards. Florida goes 8 deep. They have size. They have depth. They have 3 really quick guards. They have quickness. They have scoring. They have everything they need. They beat a really good Auburn team. They've been a tremendous team all year. They deserve to be here. Houston's earned the right to be here, too. Look for another great game. I think it's Houston's year. I think if you're Florida, you'd like the number to be 85. If you're Houston, you'd like the number to be 68 or below. I said to Jack before the game, I said, Jack, I don't think Houston can win if Duke scores 72. The final was 70-67. I think Houston has to play about the same number, right around 68-70. I think that number fits Houston well. I think 85 fits Florida a lot better. If you tell me right now the final score is 85, I think Florida won. I have to admit, I really like Clayton. I've really liked what I've seen from him in the tournament. That's why I picked him against Auburn. It's hard to pick against him, but I would anyway, even if I hadn't picked Houston before the tournament started, and I did. So I think this is Kelvin Sampson's year. I think now more than ever, but I think I don't like that I don't like one of their key guys, and their defensive player of the year has got an ankle problem. I don't like that they played an emotional, crazy, wicked game late in the second game. That'll be hard to come down from and hard to rest for. If you like Florida, I understand it. I'll take Houston to win in another tight game. They're the underdog. I'll go with the underdog again. Once they beat Duke and I picked them, I picked them outright. I'm not going to pick them to lose now. I'm going to pick them to win again as an outright dog. They're only a 1.5 point dog now. They were 5-point dog. Well, the line went down a little before the game started. I saw went down to 4.5. And for a lot of the game, it sure looked like Duke's night. This is so late. I'll save the baseball. We'll be with you. I'll check. I'll probably do something before this game is played. I'm telling you right now, I'm picking Houston to win, and that the line's Florida 1.5. I'm picking Houston plus the 1.5. That's my pick. So I don't know if we'll do one before the game Monday night, but if not, we will definitely be here after the game Monday night. I do like that Grisham's playing for the Yankees. You know, in the past, I've told you I wanted Grisham to play. I think the more Grisham plays, I think he'll be a good fourth outfielder. You can slide him in the leadoff spot against righties. I think he's got some pop. I think he's going to be very productive. I wanted to see him get more at bats last year. You know, I yelled about that all last year. I like the fact they're giving him some time to play. And he obviously is making the most of it so far. And boy, the Pirates are bad. And a good win by the Mets. Good comeback by the Mets. We'll see you later.